On the 10th of April 2022, I started my own console challenge, a journey to beating every PlayStation 2 game. I've been collecting these games for many years, and one day I said to myself, why am I not playing these? They're gathering round, gathering dust. Games are meant to be played, so that's what I'm gonna do. We've already encountered some epic moments. There's been laughs along the way.
Oh no. Ah! It's actually pretty good!
And of course, a few tears. But one thing's for sure, we're gonna beat every PS2 game. Let's boot up game number 6, Second Sight. If you know of the company Free Radical, they very much started their life on the PlayStation system, 6th gen, bringing out iconic games like the Time Splitter franchise, Time Splitters 1 being quite a popular series. And for me and my friends, we really got into Time Splitters 2. It was a really good co-op and multiplayer experience. And if you aren't too familiar with the Free Radical guys, funny enough, they were a group of people that separated from Rare Studios. You can kind of see maybe a little bit of influence of the game design for shooters, because the guys that worked on the GoldenEye game for 64, pretty much some of them moved on to the Free Radical Studios. So with a bit of a following behind their series and franchise, Free Radical were going to decide on another game after the success of Time Splitters 2. And they went in the direction that would be a unique release in the company, actually. They decided to go with a third-person shooter approach. Second Sight, a game I had not played before the challenge, looked like this. Some psychic shenanigans meets shooting sections. Second Sight. Who knows what to expect, but I guess we have to dive in and find out, don't we? As the game begins, we are escorted down a hallway. We must be in the first-person view of this person. And with my initial reactions to this game, I had to say, the cutscenes were really nice for a PS2 game. In-engine, or however it was, the lip sync, the fluidity of it, it looked incredibly nice for a system. I had to say, well done, Free Radical, for nailing... I mean, this was a 2004 release, and brilliant in-game cutscenes for a game of its time. But yeah, as it begins, we are dragged through a hallway. There are these two mysterious guys talking about our past, so to speak, saying that we've been hooked up in a lab or something. But a lot of mystery is going on. A lot of literally helplessness is occurring, as we can only think we are in the eyes of this person, and are knocked out and dragged away somewhere mysteriously. After a designated amount of time, we eventually come to and are now struggling. We must be this character here. We no longer have a first-person view angle. But then miraculously, the bounds and binds that we have seem to miraculously unhook themselves. We are free. We are free. Once we're given control of this nameless individual, this room serves as the tutorial, really. Learning how to do the basic movements, and then the game starts to trickle feed you other things like how to crouch, how to interact. But there is an issue at the moment, because the interact button to get out of this room is on the other side of the glass. So we're kind of stuck in here in a way, aren't we? That's a bit of a problem. And as that problem arises, the character starts to question what's been going on.
I noticed them. I imagined them undoing. Did I undo them with my...
So the penny starts to drop with the character, and we're realizing that we have more than we're capable of. Somehow we're able to move things without the very confines of our body. Telekinesis hints, maybe, that are being fed to the player. And then after a little bit of more of a hesitation and trying to figure out how to open the glass, the tutorial message tells us we're able to focus on objects and interact with them. So, with a little flick of our wrists, that damned button that was in our way is no longer a problem. We have psychic powers. So, with our newly found skill and knowledge, what else can we do with our psychic abilities? Well, it doesn't take long because the room, very handily, that is next door decides to introduce us to yet another mechanic. So, as we settle down and start to look around this room, we're told that we can also focus on any object in a room, and with the touch of the circle button, we're able to interact and actually mess around with the environment around us. So with this, once you have it picked up, you can start dragging it around and everything. Pretty handy little feature. I mean, as I was starting to play here, I assumed this computer monitor was sending like electrical waves to the different devices. So it was either going to help mess around with other electronic devices and also do damage to enemies. So yeah, talk about getting a handy little set of features right now, eh? And as we think we're ready with all our new psychic abilities and leaving that tutorial area, the game decides to strike us with yet another ability. With some horrible, painful power that takes over him, we are then given our first extra ability, which is healing. And that will help you explain the HUD in the top left corner there, actually. The red bar will be our health, while the blue bar is our psychic power meter. Whatever powers you use will deplete it, but it does recharge over time. So that'll be the main juggle and thing we need to keep up. With getting to grips now of our abilities and messing around with inanimate objects, as we leave, we are met with 2 actual guards now. So here we have to start trying to use combat with our psychic abilities, and, well, you can see for yourself here. It's a little bit janky and messy when I try to get used to it. I wave this bin about, it doesn't seem to do much. The guy falls down on the floor, and the better thing to do was to kick him in the face. Funny enough, the protagonist is really upset that he's actually killed someone, though, so we're not really dealing with a psychopath, at least. And even after trying to sadly get to grips and using his own guard friend as a weapon, it was just easier to run up to people and kick, honestly, for the first part. So during our first little trip around this little safety lab, struggling to get into some places sometimes and keep kicking our enemies before they could get up, we start interacting with these little computer devices. Luckily enough, there is no login or anything you need to do for most of them. And basically, these serve as both, like, you know, info dumps, and in this situation in particular, we need access to the elevator that was locked at the beginning of the game, so we need to find some way to open the elevator. It's pretty straightforward. We need to select the correct room we want to get more information about. So we select the elevator eventually, and then, hey, there's a passcode. And you don't need to write down passcodes in this game. Once you know the information, you remember it, you automatically will open those devices to progress further on. And eventually, once the elevator arrives and we have a few minutes to recollect ourselves as the character, we're able to investigate ourselves more, and we're left with a band, John Vaddick. And then suddenly, just like that, some painful things start occurring in our head. And then, whoa, what's going on? Suddenly, we seem to be looking back 6 months ago and recalling events of the past. Classic old flashback is going on to learn about what the hell happened to us, and I guess try and recollect our memories, since we seem to be very confused in the situation. So, as this flashback begins, we are basically introduced to this unit with the US military. John has been called in to help out, but before he can go on and listen in onto the conversation, they want him to get on with some military training. So, if you thought tutorials were done, it's not just yet. We're going to have to do a couple more things before we can fully get into the meat of this game. So we follow one of the cadets onto this training course, and that's just the extra elements we need to learn. You start learning about the basic movements of the games, how to climb up, how to hug walls, more importantly, how to also do this interesting like ledge hang mechanic that you see in many games. That's going to be an important stage progression thing that's used quite a lot in the game. And also, we are brought into like a stealth section. There are some stealth elements, so we're taught how to avoid being seen or captured by the enemy's line of sights. We also need to learn how to defend ourselves though on the field, and we're taught how to do the third person shooting mechanic. It's pretty decent actually, honestly. You focus on a particular person and then you're able to free aim with the right analog stick. So you can finely tune your shots. You maybe say you want to go for a headshot, you can fine aim to the head, take them out in the head, which obviously is an insta kill in this game, but maybe you don't have the time for that and there's better focus on the chest, so you go for the chest. And it's basically a really nice way of explaining how the aiming mechanics work. You're then challenged to try and earn an X amount of points. I think it's like 220. They're very fair. You get more points going for the headshots, and it's just a fun way, as well as a training aspect way of knowing what's the best approach on, different scenarios with different enemies. And after that, you also have to learn about cover training, and this is with real life actual people. So you learn how to crouch, how to peek from cover, and how to basically prevent yourselves from getting hurt or getting absolutely shot to death. All good little aspects of the game that it teaches you. Also, not many games do this, but the sniping in this game is done in a very unique way. Instead of obviously looking down the barrel of a sniper, when you focus, you still stay in third person, and a sniper preview occurs in the bottom right corner of the screen instead. I like this mechanic. I think it's pretty good, but maybe it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I thought it was a very clever way of doing it. And then the guys want you to do one dry run with real life people, real movement, and, real trial situation to get past it all. So you use a trank and take everyone out. Still, once we have proven our worth, we are able to join the debriefing, which focuses on one particular person, Dr. Rienko, who has been working on psychological experiments in Europe. And it's to the US military's concern that we see just exactly what he's been doing these years. Interesting though, John Vadek is very against psychic activity and the idea of psychic like technology in use, which is quite interesting. Seems like obviously in the present he very much adapts to getting his own psychic powers. So, you know, just one of them interesting things as the story develops. He's obviously very confused why he's even here in the first place, but he seems to be writing proof or disbelief about the psychological experiments, and we are met with another character who is a mystic, a psychic herself, who believes other matters. There's a little bit of dispute between the two of them, and basically it seems she wants him to come along, John, to not just disprove fact, but actually seeing is believing, as it should be. And after a bit of hesitation, what else can be said and done? John, I guess, is going to have to get involved. With all that said, we are slapped back into the present and back to being John Vadek in a very sorry state of affairs. Oh dear, John. Guess we're going to have to try and find a way to work out just what the heck's been going on. We eventually hit the ground floor in the elevator and try to get our way out of this facility. But sadly, it can't be a smooth one, as there seems to be a guard on duty telling us to get down on the ground. Obviously, we're just trying to explain the situation. We don't want to cause any harm. Everything wants to go all right. But suddenly, as John hunches down, we are given another power. We are blessed, or maybe cursed, as some might think, the power to use Psyblast. We finally have some lethal, deadly properties to deal with our enemies, if we so choose. We've been causing quite a hell of a disturbance, it seems, though, because it hasn't took long for the authorities to get involved. And to be fair, I mean, it's understandable. We have been killing some people, so I think it's right that a higher force tries to deal with the outbreak of us in particular. Still, we have a new power to mess around with, don't we? So, yeah, with our new Psychic Blast ability, we will now be able to actually defend ourselves apart from just kicking and brushing objects into one another. It's quite simple. You equip the ability, and then when you want to focus on a particular person, you launch a Psyblast and take them out. Still, we're not leaving out the front door, so we need to find another way to get through this facility. I do get some Metal Gear Solid 2 vibes when I play this game. I think the environment, the color scheme, and the mix of combat and stealth all kind of adds up to it. With our psychic abilities, we are able to distract other guards, hopefully move them out of the way. As you see here, I interact with this like shutter, and it causes the guard to move. Sometimes with good success, sometimes with not the best success. I don't know how I get caught here, though. I sneak around, and I think I don't do much else, but still, it alerts the guards. Still, you don't get heavily that punished for getting caught in this game, which means for you stealth fans that aren't huge stealth fans, you've got that to not worry about. Even while playing on the default, like, normal difficulty, there's two difficulties when you play this game, normal and challenging. Normal isn't too bad. You see here, I get caught, but I'm able to, like, punch people, take bullets quite meatily to the chest. But this is the first level, maybe that's a reason for it. And just run around trying to get out the way of all these guards that don't want us being here. Once again, just like Metal Gear, you can even hide in these locker rooms. With little success for me, I get found out, so the only best way to deal with this guy is to teach him a lesson and punch him in the face. How dare you find me? Yeah, so it's all just fun and games, really, for the most part. The game does keep giving us more abilities, though, as we're about to get caught by a guard by accidentally kicking this mop bucket, we blend into, like, the surroundings, and we don't get seen. And to John's shock, he has to theorize that, did I just get not spotted? Did I just not get noticed for some reason? We've unlocked the ability to charm, which, in a fancy another sense, I really just call it an active camo. Basically, it means that the people or enemies around you won't see you while you're walking about, as long as you have enough of a active sidebar to get past all the enemies that are in front of you. John has been wanting to get to the patient record room, which we do eventually reach, and luckily, it seems that someone's workstation has been left turned on, and John is able to interact with this for his curiosity. With very little success at the moment through the paperwork, we then log on to the, well, already logged in computer to look more about this winter project, and it's there where we start to learn more about the past, basically, where we find out that John Vaddick got obviously incarcerated, captured, put in prison, but then Jane Wilde died in action. So, obviously, my goodness, we're now hearing the flashbacks of our past, and oh my god, it's time for another flashback. It's time to remember, remember, remember. And once again, we are back 6 months ago learning more about what happened with John and the military crew. It's more of a project about we're now at that base where we need to find more about the doctor that's been working on these psychological experiments, so to say, and hopefully get to the bottom of all this. While they continue to debrief, John decides to talk to the mystic more about why he's really here, and suddenly it's exposed that his purpose is a lot more important than he realizes. Only he can help with what this doctor and his experiments has been going on and what is done. Still, John is very confused, doesn't fully understand the gravity of the situation, and really is concerned. But as they try and find more about what the situation is, we are under attack. An ambush has been set up, and we need to deal with it. So back in the past, we don't have our side powers here, and we had to rely on sniping and shooting skills alone. Also, we don't have the healing ability that we will learn at the beginning of the game, so you got to keep your health in check. Just use the cover and just make sure that you don't get your your brain splattered by the other snipers in this level, and you should be fine. Obviously, the whole point of this is to prevent Jane Wilde from dying, and as we slowly move forward, Jane's icon's in the top right. We're gonna try and keep track of her, make sure she's safe. During my first time, I didn't know where she was, so I dry humped the wall. And as I'm trying to work out where she is, oh, crap. She blows up in some mysterious explosion. Damn. Time to redo the level again. So luckily, this is a game and we can retry and redo our wrongs. And so this time, with the knowledge, we sneak over to where the building was and make sure that Jane Wilde doesn't explode. But John Vaddick knows that this building's going to blow up. So, wait a minute. Is the game trying to tell us that not only us, but John Vaddick, the character in the game, knows of the mistakes and thus is trying to right the wrongs as well from the gameplay we, the player, are causing? Well, funny enough, Dr. Doak, the head of Free Radical at the time and part of the dev team for this, intended for this in game design. There is a lovely little interview and podcast he did with the lovely chaps at Bartians. So here, Here's the breakdown of what he meant for the game.
Second Sight was interesting. I had a thing where I wanted it to be the starting point for Second Sight was that if you play a game like certainly the way GoldenEye and things work, there's probably less so now. You'd play through a level and then you'd die. I mean, that's what happens, isn't it? You're going through a story, but as you go through it, I should go in that direction. As you're going through it, you come to a block where you die, and then you have to go back, and then you go and maybe you get that, and then you start here and you go forward. And I liked the idea that when you died, it was meaningful in that you learnt something more about what would be. So Second Sight has things, it has reveals which only happen when you die. So if you sat down and played the game and didn't die and played all the way through it, there was a couple of things you wouldn't understand about it. And then
As said, it's explained much better by the guy who put his heart and soul behind this game. Great little listen, that podcast. I'll put a link in the description if anyone's interested. It's a really good listen for his life in video game development. But yeah, back to the game. So we are now with Jane Wilde. She is safe and sound, and we have to basically live out the past in a different timeline, in a sense, really. Now we've changed the fate and events of the world. The rest of this level pans out going through this military facility. There's some stealth sections, but once again, you aren't heavily punished for getting caught. It's very fair, and the situations and scenarios all really much are just you trying to get to the end point and saving your comrades that have been captured inside this base. A job well done, though, with everyone. We all get a congratulations from the team leader, and as we sit down and start to recollect our thoughts and plan our next action to get to the doctor that's causing all these psycho experiments, Jane Wilde turns around and basically says thanks. We saved a life. And yeah, we've changed the course of history. It doesn't take us long to get thrown back into the present and try to recollect our thoughts of what just happened and what we've seen. And look, the events of what happened have changed the now. We now see that she's no longer killed in action, but incarcerated as well. So at least John Vadek is a little bit more happy about the outcome of the situation. We look up where she's been captured, and that is our next course, our next goal. We need to go and catch up with Jane Wilde and find out exactly what the hell is going on. So once again, while we're in the present, we are introduced to yet another problem while we're trying to get out of this facility. It seems this deadly laser barrier is preventing us from moving forward, but then miraculously, it seems our psychic powers activate once again, and now we're able to project a version of ourselves to go through any hazards and remove barriers or, activation gates. So once again, thanks, psychic powers. You really know how to contextually activate at the right time in the right place. So we continue to clunkily get through this facility. As you can see, I'm beating up the guards and that lot, using our new projection ability outside of cutscenes to get through progression blocks as well. It's a pretty useful ability, and it's one of the main mechanical abilities you're going to be using a lot throughout the rest of the game. And as we go further to try and bust ourselves out of this place, we walk into more trouble. We have many guns aimed at us, and it seems like all hope is lost once again. However, as always in a contextual situation, it seems suddenly we are given yet another ability, or an ability upgrade. Our Psy Blast powers now give us the ability to do an area of effect blast. And luckily, now, hey, the problem's been moved out of the way, and we're able to get somewhere further in, or out, in a better sense, this facility. I actually heavily relied on this ability through my run. It's a pretty damn useful ability. As you can see here, it knocks anyone on the floor, but doesn't technically kill them. It does if they hit or impact a wall behind them. So once they are downed, I pop myself up and make sure they don't get up by all popping them and peppering them with bullets. But I really like the ability. It's pretty useful in my run. But we continue to go through the facility, getting more and more confused where to go, and it just seems wherever you do turn to, more guards are trying to kill and shoot at you. And then, conveniently, it seems that someone has left a parked car in this underground garage parking space. And not only that, they've left the keys in it as well. So, hey, we've got a way to get out of here finally. Thanks for whoever did that. Our escape does not go without some disappointment with someone, and it seems that this individual here, after we escape, receives a phone call. It's a very much one-sided phone call. We can't hear what the person on the other end is saying, but it sounds like they are very concerned, this gentleman, about our escape, the gravity of the situation of us being now out in the real world, and having to deal with us, because something is going to happen if we're out in the open world and able to expose our powers or use our powers to do something that he doesn't want. It's only been an in-game day later from our escape that John is so focused on his goal, he has decided to come to the asylum. Clearly, Jane Wilde is a very integral and important part of his way of finding out what the hell is going on. And we're here. She's locked away in one ward in the asylum, and we've turned up to try and get to her, bust her out, and get more information. Because at the moment, poor old John here is way too confused and concerned about everything that is going on. The asylum is a great change of scenery for our next level. There's a lot of ambience, a bit more of a creepier vibe to it, and obviously more stealth gameplay. And as said before, you don't get punished for stealth in this game if you get caught. So if you're really not into your stealth gaming, this isn't a problem with this game. You've just got to fight your way out of battles, hide, and make the guards eventually give up on you. Kind of like Metal Gear Solid games, really. You don't really get punished if you get caught in them games as well. Deal with the enemies in that section, kill them off, hide from them, and then just carry on. This is a good level, though. Really nice level and change of pace. And of course, it can't be a new level without obviously getting another ability. Some of the asylum guards seem to hear some commotion going on, and one on his own decides to brave it and check what's going on. And sadly, to his demise, as he eventually encounters us in this next room, John flexes his new ability. We have the ability to now pick up and psychic choke, psychic lift people. Yeah, we're starting to get the force powers in this game, aren't we? But another ability under our wing, more ways to get through and survive this scenario. So with my amazing stealth skills, I clearly fist fight my way while in front of guards aplenty, hide away like a scaredy cat, and completely torment the guards with my psychic powers. And then, on the rare occasion, actually use my abilities to the right means and disable cameras and safely get through this facility without getting caught. Also, I like to goof around sometimes, and I was curious. There's all these asylum bins, asylum stations where they lock up the patients and obviously keep them locked up inside. Well, I decided to project myself and lock myself in to see what would happen. And actually, look what happens. Oh my god.
That was clever. Now what do I do?
Well done, Free Radical. I love it when a developer thinks out the box because of someone's stupidity or goofiness, and they did it. Well done, guys. Loved it. With our goofing around done and behind us, we find the room that Jane Wilde is locked in, and she very much is in a sorry state of affairs. Very confused, very lost, doesn't know much about what's going on at the moment, and John Vadek is trying to help her. We need more information, and we need to find what the hell is going on. And it seems we've just got to get her out of here in the first place and then maybe ask some questions. And that's the next plan. It's time for the dreaded escort mission. Jokes aside, though, this escort mission isn't really that much of a pain in the ass. You have to use your charm ability while focusing on her, and she will follow you. She sometimes will panic during gunfights and hide in the corner, and you have to calm her down again. She doesn't get into any real situational problems. She's got a lot of health. She can really take some damage. And it's more just having to drag her around everywhere. If she does die, it's because you probably left her alone for too long and guards seem to spawn on top of her and shoot the crap out of her. So, at best, it's a very fair escort mission while you're getting through the rest of this asylum. Eventually, you get to a point in this asylum stage where you are stuck, basically. You have a locked door and you can't open it, so you need to find a way to open it. And as I started scanning the area, I kind of pieced together, the game probably wants me to shimmy round to a point where I can open it from another way. And that's what I tried to do. I started to try and work out, obviously, different areas I could shimmy from. It seemed, though, that I just couldn't really find any points to find the contextual button situation to hang off of the edge and get to this balcony I was trying to get to. And then at one point, I decided to go higher up to this taller part of the building. And then I was trying to work around other grabbable edges. I was desperately looking everywhere. Nowhere seemed to have a contextual grab point for me to hang from. And then I went further over here, and like everything, I just was trying any point, and finally the button prompt appeared. It felt odd though in this situation. This exact area, it really didn't feel like I was meant to be hanging at this point, and especially right here. It felt so glitchy. I was so hesitant. I was like, am I really doing the right thing here? I don't know if this was the right solution, but it worked, luckily. And I was able to get down to that other side of the balcony and open the door to get through this building to get Jane through the facility. It just didn't feel right, but hey, it worked. That's what matters. With my determination, skill, and a little bit of my charm, the power to make Jane follow us, we eventually do get through the asylum and find our beautiful escape route. How do we escape from such an asylum, you ask? Well, clearly through the best back door ever. Yep, the sewers. Hey, it's one way to get out. There's nothing quite like a stinking sewer to gather your thoughts and get your breath back, huh? But that's just what we do. So we take a seat by some very handy steps and try to just think about things. Luckily, Jane seems to suddenly realize who she's with. John. And he's now able to try and talk about everything that's been going on. The past, the present, and where's the Colonel? What's happened to the Colonel? But once again, we're told that the Colonel also died during that mission, that winter mission back in the past. And just like that, we remember, maybe we can change fate once again. So we're 6 months back in the past, again, recollecting our thoughts as John Vaddick, and the Colonel decides to come along and give us a little bit of a pep talk, saying how well we've done, we're doing a good job out there, but still, our past self is very much against psychic activity. We don't believe in it, it's not true, nothing can be possible. But the Colonel confesses something, that the psychic Jane was able to predict a terrorist attack and save loads of people. And like that, John's going, well, really? Maybe there is some concrete proof that psychic use and activity can help people then. It gives him a little bit of a buzz, and hey, it's something that at least the past John Vaddick now accepts, and maybe now has a bit more of an open mind to the psychic world. John does think he's seen something in the distance, and they go check it out. It seems to be an ambush, though, when we do eventually come to. We're getting sniped by a lot of people. Like I said before, I love the sniper mechanic in this game. I think it's very clean and very good with the third-person shooting aspects. And yeah, we just got to deal with this goddamn ambush. We don't know how they got here, but we've got to deal with them. With our heads safely on our shoulders, though, from the sniper ambush, as we try to calm down, John sees a mysterious figure run away. The Colonel's going, what the hell did you see then? Where is it? Where is it? Only John can see this person. With some questions in his head, the sensible thing is to follow it, and it seems to be going in the right direction, so they both agree, let's just go, and that's what we do. While you're following this mysterious figure, this level consists of you going through bases and compounds, opening doors and opening barriers. Nothing more different or special, most part. Keep jumping from terminal to terminal and finding passwords and keys and doors, yada yada yada. But there is a cool little Easter egg section in one point. If you're able to clear out this like rec room, I guess is the best way of putting it, where these two guards are relaxing in, there is actually a arcade machine that is left on. Free Radical actually do like doing this in their games. There's a load of little mini game arcade games in Time Splitters 2 that I enjoyed. And yeah, this machine is left on, and you're able to play some like I don't know, asteroids. I guess is the best way. Asteroids clone, little fun thing. And if you use a computer nearby, you actually are able to download this mini game and install it on your PDA. Nice little touch. And hey, if you want to do it, nice little mini game to let your head down. With us messing around with some bits and pieces and eventually open up the gates to the main compound to go to the next big area, we start to collect our thoughts, talk about our next battle plan, but then suddenly John sees that mysterious figure. Seems the Colonel can't see it, and, well, the spirit decides to do one better and possess the Colonel. And with the spirit now having a voice through the Colonel spirit possession, it tells us we need to go this way. We need to go to the village. And then suddenly bonk. Oh dear. Luckily, it's only a minor thing. The Colonel doesn't know what the hell happened. But it seems like he's still possessed, though. A little bit inside of him is going and running into danger. But luckily, the snipers aren't that accurate, and they seem to leave the Colonel alone for the most part. So we'll make sure that the coast is clear as we venture on more, with the slightly possessed Colonel leading us on. It seems we keep going further and further into trouble as we eventually come across this little, well, precarious board that the Colonel decides he'll go across first. But then suddenly he gets shot and he falls down. Could this be the moment where the Colonel died? Oh my goodness, we've got to change the history of this event. But before all that, this weird child projection psychic spirit talks to John. Once he's doing the whole spiel again. I don't believe in psychics. I don't believe in any of these powers. This is all phooey nonsense. So the kid goes, look, you're one of us. You just don't realize it yet. And the better way for him to totally understand it is to just shut his mouth and just give him the damn powers. And like that, this must be the origin of where Dr. Vadik got his abilities. We are now able to finally use our psychic powers in the past. But not only does he give us our powers back, we're given a damn upgrade as well. The projection skill that we use to obviously activate devices now has a bonus possess ability. So that means now, in the middle of a gunfight, we can pick whoever we want, possess them, and start shooting amongst friends. That's great, isn't it? It really is a useful ability. I use this quite a lot. It's very handy. Saves your ass from getting shot to bits. Instead, let them fight amongst themselves. But yeah, with this, we have changed the course of history again. And with magical powers be at our hand, the Colonel survives. So with our hides intact, we can now investigate the scene a bit more. And the Colonel realizes something odd. We've been dealing with the Russians in this mission, but wait a minute. This is all US technology. So, oh, what is going on? US involvement and US forces trying to stop them? This case goes deeper than we ever imagined. But the past is boring. We don't want to do that now. He's saved. We can go back to the present and deal with the now. And that's just what happens. We're back at the asylum. We're lurking in the sewers still. But one old face that we've seen minorly decides to turn up on the scene. Yes, that gentleman that had the phone call that was very worried about us has decided to show up now, but stop doing his office job. And he wants to know the breakdown. And here's that we've broke out Jane, and we're still among the missing. And he's not happy about it, to the point where he wants his special task force to deal with us, and lethal action is allowed. Damn. This project, or whoever we are, he doesn't care about that anymore. He just wants our asses dead, so we've got to really be careful. So it's now just the two of us again, me and Jane. Once again, she doesn't really get too involved in the gunfight, but also doesn't get herself hurt, so it's fine. I also found out, finally, in this section, that there's a first-person mode, and it's a lot easier to do with a trank gun when you're trying to go for those headshots, because one shot with a trank in the head knocks a guard out instantly. And yeah, it's a bit finicky maybe to some, but I found this super useful when you're trying to be stealthy, so thank goodness for that, and at least I learned about it now. This new elite task force is about, but with that new possess ability, just like for this example right here, I activate it, and then I just go up to one of the gun guards, and it's just the best thing, really. I just love this ability. It's so good at clearing out any problems, and once they're out of the way, I'm able to safely deal with the last guard and move on through. The sewer section is quite a long one, it's got a few puzzles, but as we finally escape, we are free at last, and able to, once again, gather our thoughts and try and work out our next battle plan. And as we do talk with Jane and talk about Colonel, well, she tells us something drastically different now. The Colonel is alive, but under house arrest. So yeah, our actions in the past did well, the present has changed, and we have basically ended up in another timeline. But the better thing forward is that, once again, we've saved someone else, and we're able to get to a person to learn more about what the hell's going on. So let's go save that Colonel. We really do like to get things done in the now, though, as only a day after the asylum, we drive to the Colonel's house, but some mysterious men in black are guarding it outside the building, and we've been spotted by them. As we try to desperately drive away, they're onto us. Something is amiss, and we need to obviously get to the Colonel as best we can in this part of the city. So we get pulled over by Jane, we hop out, and hopefully can get to the Colonel one way or another. And just like our stealth skills in-game, our cutscene stealth is pretty shoddy too, as it doesn't take long for the men in black to question, have you seen this guy, mysterious car and guy go somewhere? And then, yeah, they spot us running in the garage, so we're trapped. We're trapped like a rat. Handily, though, with our Metal Gear knowledge, we're able to go to the back of this garage, and there's a handy vent that we're able to unscrew and escape secretly while the task force and men in black are waiting for us outside the front. So we can start going through this level with being a little bit more sneaky than we should be. This level, though, has a really weird quest line, which I think is essential to get through. You go into one of these buildings and there's a gang member who very much is freaking out, thinking you're one of the men in black, you're one of these undercover agents, doesn't trust you for love nor money, as she casually holds a double-barrel shotgun to the side like a true gangster. But we want to get through, we try and say we're not part of it, and we'll do anything to help, just to get through this troubled zone. And they do offer us an ability to do so. What do we need to do? Well, to prove our worth, we've been given a mysterious box. A box of tulips, we're told. Okay. So yeah, we have to go to this door that's somewhere else once we follow the quest icon. And this mysterious gentleman on the other end of the line buzzes us in because he's very happy to know that his tulips are being hand-delivered to him. And from one gang member to another, as he basically gets very excited that he's got his package safely delivered and confused that we're a new delivery man that he's never seen before, he says, well, we're not going to be able to get very far in this town looking like that. And it seems with a little quick off-screen help, we are inked up. We have the gang tattoo to get past or make friends with the gang leaders. It seems odd, but it does strangely work. The people in the streets aren't going to shoot us up because we've been inked up, and that's great. It's basically, you know, a progression block. We weren't able to get past this group of people without it, I think. I don't know, I just kind of followed the stage of events, and we got to this point without really hitting any brick walls anyway. But they even fight for us and deal with the men in black as well. We've got quite the crew and the helpful one at that to get to the Colonel and find out what the hell is happening to him in this town. They keep pointing us in the right direction once we've helped with them. They say that the Colonel is probably up this fire escape in this apartment building, We haven't got anything else to go on, so
hoping
yeah, we might as well
I'm hoping
believe
there'll
them.
be like some
There's
sort
that
of
handy
Digimon
window open as well,
survive
and as we jump in the apartment, we find some mysterious papers on the table and look into it more. Of course, a very angry and concerned colonel is wondering who the hell is in his apartment, and just as he's about to shoot this mysterious figure, he turns us around and notices that it's John. Shocked and in disbelief, he can't believe that he's alive and standing in front of him. Why? Because he believes that he and the entire task force in Debransk died. Oh no. You know what that means? That's right. We've got to right the wrongs again of the past. It's time to go back. So 6 months ago in Debransk, we are all alive and very much trying to get further into this facility and work out more about the doctor's experiments on psychoanalysis. As we heard in the present, our entire team dies here, and there's not really a integral cutscene that I experienced here. There's just a lot of firefights that we need to basically make sure that no one dies in. Like Dr. Doak said in his interview, maybe I'd have experienced more on this level if I died or my team died, but I do a very good job at keeping everyone's health balanced and in check, being very cautious as I was going through this stage. There's a lot of different sections where you're all grouped up and enemies jumped out, but I was already on my toes and making sure that none of us ever got wiped out. The final sections of this stage can be quite intense as this big like open dam area occurs. You are absolutely peppered by so many like enemies and bullets and snipers, but there is the healing ability in this game, which thank God you can use also on your own workforce. It's because of this that I eventually stopped really focusing on the firefight side of things and instead made sure that these guys weren't getting absolutely killed. And yeah, instead of being the heavy weapons guy, I became the support guy. And we're able to get through the stage pretty, well, straightforward, really, just with that forward thinking instead. It's still a really intense stage. You've got to still be careful keeping yourself alive while keeping the others alive as well. And like every past scene, eventually we accomplish what we were told in the present. No one dies in this scenario, and instead, we now need to get the hell out of here. There's a lot of stuff going down, and we shouldn't be hanging around here any longer. The problem is, as we try to communicate with people to escape, the comms are being jammed by someone. We're stuck. Oh crap. So what do we do now? Well, before we can rectify that, we are actually chucked back into the present. So, what happened in the past here? But we're back in the present now. We can't dwell on the past. There's more important things to do. And as our severe headache of memories occurs, we start talking about Debransk. The Colonel confirms, yeah, we were lucky to get out alive. We done it again. Changed the course of history. Go us. We're given a little bit of a lore dump here. We start learning that the government are trying to cover up this child camp that was the guinea pig focus on psychokinesis experiments. But also, we are brought to the attention of a gentleman called Hanson. Hanson runs a facility here in the United States that is focusing on the project of psychokinesis. But not only that, he was there all those months ago in Debransk. He was working with the doctor and working on these experiments. So clearly, this is who we need to confront and deal with now. And luckily, the Colonel decides while we deal with all these police and FBI agents that are trying to be on our ass, we need to get out of here with all this evidence and go confront his ass. And that's just what we're gonna have to do. So we're starting to get thrown in the thick of it. There's a lot more enemies we have to deal with now. There was a hidden sniper rifle actually on this stage that I easily just wanted to equip because I love the sniping in this game, as I've said before, on time and time again. I'll say it again. And the sniper was really useful here. There's a lot of balcony sections, and I'm able to get the jump on most of these FBI agents to get through this level quite easily and friskfully. That's not to say there were a couple of hairy moments as I'm just about to leave the stage. It seems that there's one final push with these guards, but you know what? I go, screw this. I know how to deal with these guys. The beloved Side Blast ability to knock them all out and then escape out the door. And as we escape, we say goodbye to Colonel in some sort of weird epic goodbye, Doctor kind of thing, and we are free to leave. And now that we're outside and ready to find our escape, oh, look at that. Handy car with its door open. Maybe they leave some keys in it. Who knows? So we make a dash for the car, and as we're about to get away, we go, wait a minute. This car looks familiar. This clock looks familiar. Oh, wait a minute. And then suddenly, with realization, we notice that Jane clearly has been kidnapped. Oh, great. Not only are our enemies have the upper hand with a friend under their control, we've got to really deal with this matter at hand urgently. John, with some confident swagger, just decides to walk right on into the executive building, though, where Hanson clearly must be. And with confidence, he even says his name. And the guard just goes, okay, let's just book that in and let's deal with the situation. And obviously, some sort of warning has triggered on the screen. And then, just like some sort of awesome James Bond agent, boom, we're in. We're getting to the bottom of this, one way or another. Now, I would definitely consider this the difficulty spike of the game. It gets a bit intense now. If you get caught now in these sections, it does really punish you. And the game loves to hide these cameras everywhere as well now. You'll start getting caught in rooms that you don't go into. I get very frustrated, like, damn these cameras. But yeah, look at the amount of enemies now. It gets quite intense. But hey, as you get close to the end of the game, this starts to happen, right? I was definitely zigzagging a bit more during this section and diving out of rooms, panicking slightly from just the sheer amount of enemies and gunfire. And remember how I said earlier that the devs kinda were clever in preventing soft locking? Well, sadly, that's not the case on this level. Maybe because there was so much going on, I can't really blame the game for it this way. But I run away from all these enemies, and there's this elevator open. I don't think this elevator was meant to be open, though, as I hide inside it and heal, and the door's shut. The door said you needed a key card to get into this. And as I start to recollect myself and the enemy and the panic alarm dismisses, I'm stuck. I'm just stuck in this elevator and there's no way out. So they sadly don't think of everything free radical. I ended up somehow soft locking myself. Luckily, there's a restart checkpoint option on your PDA, so it's not too bad, but it's still, you lose some progress. And yeah, just a minor incident that happened to me on this level. But to complete this level, it's a lot more complex than other levels where we just had to open a gate. You need to find a floppy drive. And then, with the floppy drive, you then go to another computer and add this movie file onto it. But once we have the movie file applied to the removable memory, we then need to go to another console, put that movie file onto this computer, play the movie app, and then we're able to watch the movie. But not on this computer. No, we then need to go to a very particular screen and watch the movie unfold. Definitely a lot of thinking and a lot of trial and error was on this level. It's quite a toughy one, especially with all the enemies and the cameras. But once you get the right items and the right computers all sorted, you do eventually get the job done. When we finally get to enjoy movie night, though, we discover the depths of this project. We see that the child experiments that occurred 6 months ago have been used to take the DNA of them and then been put inside these super soldiers. And not only that, they've already been scattered across the globe. So, holy crap, there's quite a bit of a problem already on our hands here. So we're going to need to go back in time and prevent this project from going ahead. Let's do it. Come on, work this time. That's it. Give it a kickstart, and let's go into the past, John. Now, remember that scene I said earlier on that why have we just abandoned it and not gone back to it? Well, this time the game decides to go back now, and we just talk to this old elderly woman. Basically, she's warning us about the project, the children, and everything about them being dangerous. If anyone goes near them, they will kill them. Apart from one person in particular, that being John. Obviously, the kid's already been in contact with him. He's got the abilities. He's going to be the only one that's going to be able to go get these children, save them, and help them out. He was always destined to be the one, and we're going to have to be the one to go inside and help them. This stage actually wasn't as intense as the previous one. I think you get lost a bit easier here, though. There's definitely a lot more complexity to the level design, jumping over objects and climbing over annoying obstacles. But my lovely possessability, taking out the pesky guards, and obviously my beloved sniper rifle do some beautiful work here. And that's how this level goes. It's not too bad, like I said. You will probably get frustrated about some points. I definitely get a little bit lost. But for the most part, you deal with the right stuff and you should confidently be able to get to the end of this level. That end point being this mystical church. And what happens in this church, apart from it being super creepy and hearing the flashback from the old granny? Well, it seems to have the Umbrella Corporation level and design because there's a mystical, secret, creepy elevator leading to somewhere way more sinister. What a classic. Housed in the depths of this creepy church? Ah, would you look at that? Hanson and Dr. Zarensky's child project is under here. And he's not happy, he's quite panicked now. It seems all his hard work could come to an end if it's all discovered and stopped. So, as it goes on and he sends his elite task force to try and deal with the situation, we overhear that Zarensky and Hanson don't really seem eye to eye. He wants the project to go ahead, but Hanson wants it all to himself. And he thinks he's a liability to the point that when the job's done, we're going to get rid of him. My, what is going on? Now, this stage is quite the doozy. There's a lot going on, and you can get confused and frustrated. There's a lot of different levels of annoying game design on this one section. At first, there's a progress block. There's this locked door at the top of the staircase, and for the longest time, I couldn't work out how the hell I'm able to open this door and get through. I had the basic idea that I had to possess a guard to open the door and then do something else. But I was just bumbling about, opening doors, doing the stupid thing. And even in this one time here, I was still lost. I was going, what the hell do I do? We're already 15 minutes into my confusion. And then, just as I'm wondering, I noticed that there's one computer terminal is here. And that's the solution. You need to turn it on. And with all this other crap that's on the screen, you activate this handprint, which now has caused the hand machines to malfunction and well, clearly he the guard that was possessed got shot to death over his treason. But then that's only partly the issue. The other part is you will end up going in rooms and absolutely getting peppered by this new elite task force. They do not mess around, and your health gets absolutely diminished everywhere you turn to, and that's what was happening here. A lot of trial and error as you're trying to save these kids. You will die a few times, I would expect. But remember how I said this level has really annoying game design? If you die, you get sent to the very beginning of this checkpoint. It's a really crappy checkpoint. So you have to be patient and you're going to have to repossess a guard to open the door to remove the handprint sensor. Yeah, it's a crappy checkpoint system for this one stage. So try and keep yourself healthy and alive on this one. But our main purpose is to try and help the kids in this project. And, well, they seem to love to run into danger when we're eventually saving all the children. And when we get to the last one in particular, she leads us to this room that we've been zigzagging through several times, actually. But after I clunkily survive and get through these annoying fights, the little girl decides that she will let us go see Dr. Zarenki as long as we don't harm him, which we're not going to, because she said so in a very kind way. Zarensky is very excited to pour his heart and soul out and tell us everything about his project. He hates that Russia were idiots and didn't want to invest in his project, but loves that stupid Americans wanted to use their money for his project. He loves it, and he'll tell us everything he can about it, to the point where he's even said that it's ready to go. The experiments are ready to be conducted. Oh crap. That means that this hasn't really changed anything so far. We've just been confirmed that, yeah, those super soldiers that we saw in the present all came from this point in time. We're slapped back in the present once again, and we realize, oh yeah, crap, this super soldier project is still going ahead, so we need to deal with this. And as we get through the facility and obviously confront Hanson of all people, oh crap, we see the gravity of all the events of the past come out into the flesh. There is the Super Soldier Project, all in order and ready to be prepared, basically. However, before we can confront Hanson, we hear a sound from behind, and oh dear, one of the experiments has escaped. Now, everything has changed now. Guns do not work on these guys, they have the psychic powers like us. Yep, it's time to do force battle versus force battle. And what way do I do it? Well, I do my beloved Psy Blast most of the time against these guys. It's always my go-to, but yeah, there's a lot of them, and you've just got to change your battle style for this. It's not too frustrating as long as you focus on Psy abilities and remove their Psy shields and that lot, you'll be fine here. It's still a nice change of pace, I guess, with this psychic on psychic combat. Just like the hero we are, we finally have Hanson cornered though. We've got him. There's no one else around. We're fully packed with our weapons and our abilities. He's got nothing on us, and we're ready to deal this final blow to him. However, as we think we've got the upper hand and able to expose Hanson for everything he's done, he seems to be very calm and counteract any argument we throw towards him. We think that his project and everything has slaughtered countless of people, but then he kind of gaslights us and explains that maybe we're the ones that did all the slaughtering. It's our fault that we did all of these problems in the past. Damn. Hanson is a clever son of a bitch. Actions speak louder than words, though, don't we? So with our abilities, we get Hanson right in our clutches. But Hanson is very calm and collected again as he exposes that, of course, he kidnapped Jane Wilde all that time ago. He really has the upper hand as we give up and let him fall to the ground. We're screwed. He even says, "You're here in the present now. No way can the past change this situation. We are screwed." And as we do, we painfully go back to hopefully do something to sort this situation. Now, I know that you've enjoyed the deep dive with me, but if you actually want to experience this game for yourself and you liked what you've seen, I'm going to give you a little spoiler warning now because the finale of this game is a pretty damn good one. So, just a heads up, there's a timestamp as well. If you want to skip ahead, here's your warning, guys, if you want to enjoy the story. If not, enjoy the final sections with me in the video. So the present is screwed. We've only got the past now to repair any kind of possible outcome, and we let Zarenki know that Hanson is killing these children in the future. They're going to be dead. So if your precious children want to live, tell us where he is. And he does expose that he is in the deeper parts of this, but not before, sadly, being erased by the task force in a brutal way. Well, shit. It really is now or never. There's nothing else we can do. We've got to try and fix the present as best we can. This next section was really the roughest part as well. These annoying, like, special ops guys are really deadly. You can't shoot them. They've got ability to block bullets, so you can only use very limited side powers and, like, melee attacks. Every time I do some pathetic attempts and get killed. Eventually we do get it, but yeah, quite the toughy little section here to say the least. After that painful room, though, we eventually are helped by one of the children that are being conducted in these psychosis experiments, and then we get a painful headache. Oh, looks like we're going back into the present? No, wait. No. This isn't the present. This was an event that happened at the beginning of the game. Okay. Interesting. So, what's all this fragmented, weird sections we're finally seeing? We were in the past, but the present was where we were playing, and then it's all getting very confusing, isn't it? And then suddenly we go into the room where we first started the game. The friendliest face, I guess, is our own face, so hey, let's listen to what he has to say.
What do you mean? This is not the present. This is a possible future. But
Well, what a frickin' twist that is, huh? That's right. The game has bamboozled you from the very beginning. The present never was the present. It was a projection of our future. The beginning point of this game was always the Debransk part of the Winter Soldier team. It's with John's powers in this timeline, he's able to see his actions from his mistakes, him getting caught, people dying. This was his power all along. Power of foresight, the ability to see actions and their effects in the future. And who is the integral and most important problem for all of these issues we're having? That's right. One single person.
Hanson!
That's right. Here he is, waiting at the depths of the base for us. If we can deal with Hanson, we remove every other issue that the future holds for us. Our capture, people dying, the experiments going on, the children in Zarenko's original plan, all being removed. If we can get rid of him now, I'm sure our future will be a safer one. If you're expecting an epic finale boss fight, I'm afraid it's not the case though. Free Radical went with the choice of loads of waves of enemies of different types, the Psy enemies, the normal grunts, and everything else in between. There's some kids that help out during the combat, and that's about it. Then again, there really wasn't a boss fight to begin with in this game, so having just a mass amount of waves of enemies, I guess, isn't the worst way to end the game. But if you're expecting something a bit different, I'm afraid that's not the case. And as the last few stragglers get remained, yeah, the kids do a pretty damn good job. I mean, check out this sick finale that one of the kids does on this enemy with the explosive barrel. Nice one, kid. I mean, that was pretty damn impressive. And that's it. Once the few stragglers are destroyed, the kids march forward up to this supposedly invincible Psy-proof glass. And they go and show that that glass is nothing but a load of crap. They remove the bounds and get to our deadly adversary. With Hanson now cornered, how do the Psy kids deal with his ass? Oh, I'm sure they can do many things. Pick him up, throw him around, choke him to death. Well, no. The kids decide that the best course of action to finish this guy off is to bite him, and they all keep biting him. I don't really understand the situation here, but I'm assuming that they eat him as an ending? Okay. Still, we'll call that a victory. As we slowly leave the base in an epic fashion, support has finally arrived. The comms have been unblocked and we're able to finally go home. The game ends like this. This is how they decided to wrap things up. The future is ours. Hanson is no more, I think. But there were still things in my head that were confusing me. I mean, there's still all the kids with psi powers, and we still have our psi powers. There is still that risk out there, but hey, maybe it's like superheroes, isn't it? We'll only use our power for the good, never the bad. Still, this is the wrap of the game, and we can gladly call it a final victory. Congrats are in order. There we go. Game 6 beaten. The lovely credit roll that we always look for in the console challenge. And I have to say, this was a very good game. It got me by surprise, really. The story's pretty damn good. The level design's not too bad. The sound design's pretty good too. I actually like the soundtrack in this game. There's a lot of good sounds. The voice acting's alright. It's kind of a good blend. If you want to give this game a go, definitely, it feels right. Free Radical did a good job here. There weren't many more games they made on this system. They made the 3 Time Splitters games, 1, 2, Future Perfect. They made this, and that was it. That was their quadrilogy of games. They did also release Haze, but that was not on the system. That was a PS3 title. But yeah, I have to say I was very pleased with this game. Well done, Free Radical. You did a really good game, and I feel sorry for it. I feel like this was a game that had a good concept, good story, and at the right time, I think a lot of people have enjoyed it. Still, I heavily recommend this game. I think it's great overall, and it's not even that expensive. It's great to have in your collection, or just to check out. Give it a go, guys. You won't be sorry. My, another long video, but the story's really interesting in Second Sight, so I kind of went a bit of a tangent. Anyway, let's wrap things up. I'm sure we've all got things to do. First of all, it's time for the beloved streamer spotlight, and who's it going to go to today? Why, one of the friendliest people you ever speak to on Twitch, Sting. This guy does the PlayStation experience where he explores not only the PlayStation 1 North American library, but also explores that modern library too of all those PlayStation 4 games that I'm sure you guys have enjoyed. This guy is great. He's such a cool, laid-back guy. Also, probably the most knowledgeable person in video gaming. He knows a lot. And also, those people that do retro achievements, he is deeply involved in the retro achievement scene. Helps out a lot and just assists people everywhere he can. This guy is great. Please check out his content. I highly recommend him. Thanks for being awesome as always, Sting. Then there's just a thanks to you guys that watch these videos all the time. Thank you for just being here, and I hope you like the content. It's another long one. Thanks for staying as long as you did, and thanks for your time with me. You mean a lot, and I appreciate it. As always, scroll down if you want to know my Twitch and my Discord. By all means, join and watch them if you want, but just thanks for being a part of everything. And finally, what is the next game? Game number 7. Well, it's a very long-running franchise on the PS2 and also has the last official ever release on the console. That's right, we're starting from the first one in the series. It is Pro Evolution Soccer. Oh, baby, I hope you're ready for some sports, because there's a lot on the PS2. Anyway, thank you all for your time and your company, and I hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Have a lovely evening, day, morning, night, whatever time it was you watched this video, and I will see you all the next time when we are playing our next game in the PS2 Collection Challenge.